We welcome all of you who are tuning in tonight. And for those that have been following the Belleville Senators as much as you can in these COVID times, we appreciate it. It's been a frustrating time for everybody, obviously, and we're making the best of it. And we certainly appreciate the fact that you have questions. And Rob Mullowney, who is the COO of the Belleville Senators, will have the answers hopefully for you. He's a very well-learned man in these respects. I'm Jack Miller. Will host tonight. My preference would be to be sitting in Laval right now, getting ready to do a broadcast. Obviously, COVID doesn't allow for those things to happen right now. And so we're going to spend the next 45 minutes with you, and hopefully you'll have time to tune into AHL TV tonight and catch the Senators and the Laval Rocket. Rob, before we get to the questions, and a number of them have been submitted already, and we will address all of those questions, and we'll also offer the opportunity for fans, season ticket holders to ask more as we go. But can you give us a general update as to where things are at right now?
Sure. Well, first, great to see you, Jack, and great to chat again. It's been, as I said to our players and coaches last week, it's been a long time between shifts for the Belleville Senators, and so great to chat with you, and appreciate all the season ticket holders for taking some time to join us tonight. So obviously, I think the big thing is, you know what, we're back on the ice, and that's just such a good feeling to see our team back on the ice. Certainly not happening the way we would like it to happen, but there's been an enormous amount of time and effort and resource gone into getting us back on the ice. So that's been a big accomplishment. There's still more work to be done. Certainly there's been some media reports of where we're going to play, and certainly it all speaks to the direction that we will play our games in Ottawa this year. We're still waiting on final confirmation of that. We have not gotten that officially from the province as of yet. We expect it, but we haven't got it officially. There's some other aspects to that we need to go through with the league. There's some, again, call it housekeeping things that need to take place with the Board of Governors with regards to the Belleville Senators potentially playing in Ottawa. So there's been still a lot of back and forth on that piece, an awful lot going on in terms of operations. So it's been a very busy time. It certainly feels great to be back playing hockey and seeing our team back on the ice, as I said, not the way we'd like it and not how we ultimately envision it. But at the end of the day, I always believe that the job I have, and whether it's a coach or a player, it's such a privilege, and to be able to do what you love, especially in a situation that we're all experiencing, it really is a privilege, and we don't take that for granted. So excited to be back on the ice, and looking forward to what we will do over the coming months to ultimately get back on the ice where we want to be, which is in Belleville, Ontario, at the CAA Arena.
And Troy Mann has made that point many, many times over the last couple of months. I think our first question really does fit in well with what you're talking about. It's, can you give an outline of discussions with the Ontario Ministry of Health as well as Hastings Prince Edward Public Health?
Yeah, so those conversations have been ongoing for a very long time. And I should make the first comment that we've been working hand in hand with a lot of different entities. And when I say we, it's really the Ottawa Senators working with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and the Toronto Maple Leafs and working with the provincial government to ultimately get the approval to play. And obviously the Ottawa Senators did not play this summer. So that was part of that process. And things have continually changed and evolved around the whole COVID-19 pandemic. So there's been an enormous amount of time and effort spent with those entities to ultimately get us to the point where we can get an approval to play. One of the main stipulations that was really obvious early in the conversations around the American Hockey League returning to play was that we were going to be required to follow the NHL protocols. And so what do I mean by that is really to say it bluntly, there's a significant difference between what the AHL has required on their return to play than what the NHL has required. Canada as a whole has, some may say, handled the pandemic well or not so well, but there is certainly a difference between how it's been handled within Canada and the United States. So from a protocol perspective, there was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes to get alignment, get those documented, and to make sure ultimately we were all comfortable with what that had to be. And that's where the lion's share of work has been over the last number of months. And I've certainly been involved, but I will definitely put my hand up and say Anthony LeBlanc, the president of the Ottawa Senators, has been the lead on our side. And he's been working very closely with folks at Maple Leaf Sports to get us to that point. And so that's really a little bit of a sort of an insight of what's gone on. It's been at the provincial level, and we're very happy that they've agreed to allow us to get back on the ice.
Another season ticket holder would like to know if fans will be allowed at any point this season.
Yeah, so that's something we do not expect to see this year. And you know, I will say that that's disappointing, obviously, not just from a fan perspective, but certainly from a business perspective. Tickets is the number one driver of our business, and to not be allowed to have fans in the building and still have to operate is an enormous challenge. But there will not be fans attending any AHL games this season. That's certainly our understanding, and we don't expect that to change.
Question 3, if there are no fans this season, then what is the plan for credit card payments or credits?
Yeah, so I think we've been pretty clear on that, but I'll certainly take that question with the opportunity to share that at the end of the day, we're very happy for a season ticket holder if they choose, and that's the key comment, if they choose to continue to make payments against their account. We're happy to do that. But at the end of the day, we're also happy for them to pause their payments. And our position has certainly been, we're not asking for payments or demanding for payments. We're really leaving it at your discretion. We think obviously it's a good sign if you've made payments on your account that you know you're invested with the team and you want to continue with us as we move ahead. But our expectation is that that is not required, and absolutely all money that's on account will be used to your full credit as we move ahead here in the future. So anyone that has any concerns whatsoever with regards to that should not be worried at all. All of the money that you've paid on your account will be credited forward and used as we move forward into games back at CAA Arena next season.
What was the delay with AHL TV, and what is the plan for this season ticket holders?
Yeah, so again, that's a good question. And I think the one thing that I just need to be very transparent about is there's a lot of moving parts to what's gone on here. And while it may appear to be a seamless piece when you turn on your computer and you enter your account and you start watching a game, it's not as simple as that. And just as an example, even as early as Friday and Monday of last week, we really did not know if Laval was able to offer an English feed to our game on Tuesday night. So that was part of our considerations. The other part that's been related to AHL TV is because there's a lot of changes in venues. So for example, if the Belleville Sens end up playing in Ottawa, we've a situation in Calgary where Stockton is moving from the United States to play in Calgary. It's my understanding the Manitoba Moose may have to change venue.
Yeah.
We're still trying to understand, are all these teams going to be able to offer the product? And the product being AHL TV. So if we make that commitment to our season ticket holders, and then turn around and say, well, we've offered this, and by the way, now, no one can offer the product for you, it didn't really make a lot of sense. So part of that delay had to do with the fact of trying to get organized, trying to understand everything that was occurring in what was quite a fast turnaround. That's the long story. The short story is we have moved ahead with the product. you should have received some email communication, and we will be providing access to our committed season ticket holders for the remainder of the season, under the understanding that the venues that we're playing in will actually be able to offer the product. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about radio broadcast at some point tonight, Jack, but that's obviously another piece to that puzzle. So again, repeating that, as long as we're able to offer it and it's available, it will be provided to our season ticket holders. And really, that's done because we want to keep you engaged. We want you to watch our team. And quite frankly, we really want to say our appreciation to you for your support. And that's just one small way that we plan to do that.
I think in the same respect, communication is obviously big. People want to watch the games. People want to hear the games. People want to know what's going on. And one season ticket holder wants to know, can we expect more online updates regarding player movements now that the season has started?
Yeah, so I want to make sure I understand the question. I think we'll see more movement now, obviously, that the season has started. It's obviously a little more cumbersome this year in terms of player transactions because you have, the Belleville Senators, but then you also have the taxi squad and how we move sort of between bubbles, so to speak. But in terms of when a transaction occurs, will you be informed? Absolutely, that will take place. What we've found, and sometimes when you have challenges, there are benefits, is there's been a lot more cooperation and coordination between the Ottawa Senators and the Belleville Senators on these types of things, because quite frankly, we're both operating with a lot less staff right now. So we need to be more efficient. So again, I think to answer the question, you will see it. We get up and running. We are up and running. I suspect as we move along, you will see players recalled from Belleville to get a chance to play in Ottawa.
I know there have been a couple of questions regarding attendance, and I think you pretty well addressed that. Unfortunately, we're not thinking there's going to be any attendance even in Ottawa this year, no matter how it goes. Is there a chance, and I don't want to get too far off of the questions, but right now we think they're going to play out of the Canadian Tire Center, but the Manitoba Moose, as I understand it, are going to move into the Jets practice facility beginning with their next homestand. We were there a year ago. The Belleville Senators, practiced there. It's got some seats, but clearly not a lot. Would there be a chance that Belleville would play out of the Sens Plex?
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, Jack, when you ask me that question and what we've all experienced in the last 11, 12 months, it's hard to give a definitive answer because things change so much. But at the end of the day, we potentially could play there because, as I understand it, the facility has the requirements that we need. For example, the right type of glass has to be in place, as an example. But from an operational perspective, it is not something that we're actively planning for at this point in time. And again, I say that with a little smile on my face because there could be an email in my inbox right now saying, guess what, Rob, this is what's happening. So things are changing that fast in this environment.
Fans would like to know if we can have virtual meet and greets with the team, or what other fun activities can be done to keep the fan base engaged.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I appreciate that question for sure. And certainly, we've been thinking about different ideas and different ways to do things, and certainly trying to do things like we're doing tonight. It's not as easy to have conversations with folks that are not in your own household these days, but we're certainly thinking about those things. We hope to have a firm schedule at some point in the next 2 weeks. So obviously, once we have that, that's another step in direction of trying to plan activities around games and non-game days. Long and short answer to that is we are definitely thinking about executing ideas similar to the question that was asked.
One thing about Belleville fans, and I know better than anybody, is just how they love to show their support for the teams. that they've had over the years. They travel, they do all kinds of neat stuff to show that they're interested, engaged, and support them. And one fan would like to know, could we make a video from season ticket holders to play for them? Or are there any other ways we can show support for the players and the coaching staff when we can't be in the stands?
Well, I want to make sure I understand the question, but so I'll try to answer it with, if you're asking me, can a season ticket holder create a video that we would provide to our coaches and players, the answer is absolutely. We'd be more than happy to share something that was created to show support. If you're asking the team to work with you on that, again, I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that we would certainly consider. You know, I will put the caveat that we're a really small group of staff right now, but that doesn't mean we're not interested in and want to do creative things. And certainly, I think if there's a way to do something, we would absolutely consider it. You know, I think we've been really fortunate throughout this whole period that we do have such a great supportive group of fans, season ticket holders especially. We've received lots of really supportive emails, lots of great communication on our social media channels. So I say that to just say we certainly feel the support and we know it's there, and we welcome any ideas to do more things in that regard.
We invite anyone who's looking in, if we have not addressed your questions to this point, you can ask questions at this stage. And as a matter of fact, if you go to the chat function on Zoom, you can type in your question, or you can make it known that you want to ask, and we will get to those. It's hard to believe, I guess. March 11th will forever go down as a date that we won't forget, because that was the last night the Belleville Senators played a game, ironically in Laval. I think it's only a two-team league, Rob, Belleville and Laval. Goodness knows we love them. But interesting, just from the personal perspective, that night, March the 11th, we were on a road trip. We were going from Laval, and then we were going to cross over to the United States at Thousand Islands. And we were going to go on and play Utica on the Friday night, 13th, and then I think Syracuse on the 14th. It was during that trip that we got rerouted back to Belleville and basically told, stand by. And of course, it was the very next day, the NHL shut down, the NBA, the American Hockey League. It's been almost a year. And I guess I don't want to call it a sting that everybody might feel, but it was such a good team last year. So many good prospects, real contender that we had at the time. And then I look at the prospect pool that Belleville has again this year. 17 legitimate prospects in Belleville alone. And then on top of that, you have those that are playing at the University of New Brunswick and elsewhere in the NCAA in Europe. When you look ahead, what do you see to next year? Crystal ball time, but I think in COVID times, that's about all we can do. Do we see the same kind of depth of talent that could be in Belleville next year?
Well, first thing I would comment on, back to your sort of statement on that date, that will be burned in my brain for a very long time, because I was the one on the other end of the phone telling Troy, you're not going across the border. You got to bring that bus back to Belleville. It's too risky. We don't know what's going to happen. And you know, over the course of that conversation, Troy and I said, well, okay, so we do this. How long do you think it's going to be, Rob? And is it a week? Is it a couple of weeks? And I think both of us, well, you know what? It's definitely going to be a couple of weeks. Hopefully we do this and we're back on the ice in 30 days. And here we are, you know, almost a year later. I don't think we ever thought that. So, you know, that part definitely stings. And I've been fortunate working in the American Hockey League. I've had 2 trips to the Calder Cup finals. Haven't won one yet. I hope someday I can. But I can honestly tell you that the team last year was the best chance I've ever had as a part of an organization to win a Calder Cup. And, so that is disappointing. Uh, Disappointing for our organization, but quite frankly, I think it's really disappointing for our community because it was a real opportunity to put a stamp on it. Uh, but it didn't happen. So, that's we learn from it and we move on. Um, I've said many times that I believe the Stanley Cup goes through the American Hockey League. And the question you're asking me, quite frankly, is a better question for Peter McTavish and Pierre Dorian to answer. Um, so my opinion on it is that we have an enormous prospect pool that the Ottawa Senators have developed and are continuing to develop. And you see it on the ice in Ottawa right now. And I think, the Senators are still a couple of years away from likely being a playoff contender. So that means, there's still more draft picks and higher draft picks, I should say, to come, which means more than likely that pushes more prospects into Belleville. The American Hockey League continues to get younger and younger, and I think that's a real good indication. It always changes from year to year. You really can never tell. But I think I really believe this organization is going in the right direction, especially on the hockey front. And we've seen it. We went from out of the playoffs in our first year, probably before Christmas, to we knocked on the door in year two. We lost that heartbreaking last game of the season. To we were a perennial contender last year over the course of the year, and I think when the season ended, we tops in our division, but I think maybe third or fourth in the league, and the best road record. I mean, that's a team built for the playoffs. So that was a special team. Hard to know, will that be replicated? But as I like to say, that's why we play the games. And so certainly excited to see what happens on the ice this year. But more importantly, to your point, it really will be about next year and the opportunity to see a full season and to see what that looks like.
We had a story this morning. It actually came out yesterday. The Brampton Beast are going to cease operations, which is unfortunate. Brampton Beast being an affiliate of the Ottawa and the Belleville Senators. There was some back and forth quite a bit with players. Now that they are not going to operate in the future, how does it affect Ottawa/Belleville, and where do you go from here?
Yeah, so that's a pretty fairly fresh situation, and again, not to defer the question, but that is a Pierre and Peter answer because of the hockey side of things. That being said, I certainly know that it was a good situation to have your East Coast team so close to your AHL team. No different than it's a great situation to have your AHL team so close to your NHL location. So what I suspect is going to happen here is we're going to need the dust to settle a little bit to see what's happening. There is a new East Coast team coming in Quebec. They're joining the league next year. As I understand it, they're affiliated with Montreal. I don't want to start any rumors, but sometimes there's split affiliations. Again, this is a Pierre and Peter thing, but I would expect that those guys have their hand on the wheel on that piece, and that we're well in hand in terms of what that looks like. And I have complete confidence that it will not be a negative impact on our operation.
Still waiting for more questions, and again, you can do it through the chat function on Zoom. If you want to actually ask a question, I'm told that we can take a live question as well. Just indicate as much, and Brianne will pipe you in. The Senators, and this is your forte, since coming into existence from the marketing perspective, you've been recognized and won awards with the American Hockey League with your marketing initiatives. I know all of that is up in the air right now. But did you have something in the queue that maybe next year, if hopefully we're up and running in Belleville and things have calmed down and things can return to what will stand as normal by today's standards. Is there anything that you've been looking forward to that you want to do next?
Well, one of the things that we saw really strong growth on the business side last year that we played was our group sales program. And, we went from a, small piece of our ticket business to a bigger to last year. We were recognized by the American Hockey League as having the number one growth across the entire league. So we were very proud of that. But more importantly, I just think it speaks to the offerings that we were uh, able to bring forward. And I attest that quite honestly to there's a learning process from our perspective as well about what resonates with the market. Every market is different. We're still a very, very young franchise. We've only played for 3 years to date. So we're going to use that information to, I hesitate to use the word relaunch our business, but effectively, I think that's what we're all facing in the hockey business in the next 12 months. It's a relaunch your business because with the few exceptions, there's no fans in your buildings. You're going to be in situations where you haven't had fans attending your games for almost a year and a half. It's about relaunching your business. So that's something that certainly is important to us. We've had tremendous success in comparison. Sorry, I'm going to ask my daughter to move my kitty cat. She's meowing at the table here. If you're hearing that come across the screen, it's
Hey, there are a lot of cat lovers looking in.
So we've seen some really good growth, as an example, this year on our merchandise program through online commerce. And obviously that's a result of the pandemic. But more importantly, from a business perspective, we weren't focused on that. Our merchandise transactions were occurring at the facility, at the store within the Quinte West facility, at our games. So my point to sharing that is I think you're going to see more from a marketing perspective from us with more of a digital focus. We're seeing strong results there. Brianne Matthews, who joined us about a year ago, what great timing Brianne had to join us just before a pandemic. So she's been a great addition. She's learned a lot. And so I think you're going to see some pieces there, Jack. And honestly, more importantly, we spoke about this when we spoke the night when we talked about our extension with the city. We've got some new leadership in Ottawa that, quite frankly, have experience with American Hockey League franchises in connection with their NHL club. And so what do I mean by that? Historically, the relationship in Ottawa for years and years was an affiliation, but you were completely separate. There was the Ottawa Senators, and then there was this other entity in the American Hockey League called the Binghamton Senators that no one really talked about or talked with. Along comes the Belleville Senators. Eugene Melnyk owns both entities. So there's been some growing pains with regards to those synergies. Anthony LeBlanc comes in, our new president in Ottawa. He was the president in Arizona, and he actually helped launch the team in Tucson. Tom Hoof is our VP of marketing. He has experience with the team in Tucson, and Jeff Miranda on the ticketing side. Jeff has tremendous experience. His experience goes back to the Hartford Whalers. He also worked with the Chicago Wolves in the IHL. So my point to sharing is that there's a lot of what I like to call big brains joining our organization that know how to make things work at the American Hockey League level. So that makes me pretty excited about what we're going to be able to do and how we're going to be able to continue to build our franchise in the Bay of Quinte and in Belleville. And obviously, the extension, I mean, that just gives us even more runway, which is just tremendous.
That was tremendous news and puts everybody's minds at ease going forward. We're running out of time, and I want to get these questions in. You touched on this in your introduction regarding just how happy you are to see the team playing again. But Patrick wants to know, what's the biggest thing you have been pleased with so far with the return to play?
Well, honestly, Patrick, is simply just to see the team back on the ice. It's been a challenge to get back there, and as I say that, we've done it safely. Our players are being tested every single day. We're traveling with 2 buses. We have seating assignments. We're going to have to travel by charter to go to Winnipeg and Calgary. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to keep our players and our community safe, and knock on wood, so far that's working exactly how we see it. And so I'm very pleased to say that's the case, but honestly, at the end of the day, I'm just so thrilled to see our team back on the ice.
Also, the Senators Foundation has been huge. Obviously, it's part of the Ottawa Senators Foundation at Belleville as well. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been donated back to the community through the Sens Foundation and the 50-50 draws, as well as other ventures. Gypsy 2020 wants to know what is happening with the Sens Foundation.
Yeah, so I'll give a 2-part answer. There has been a change in terms of structure to the Sens Foundation in Ottawa, and how that affects us really is immaterial. At the end of the day, our 50-50 in Belleville was run under the Sens Foundation. We call it Sens Foundation 1.0. We expect, once we get back to playing games within CA Arena, the 50-50 will run within the Sens Foundation 2.0. So it'll be call it a seamless transition. It may not be as easy as that behind the scenes, but in terms of the fan experience, it shouldn't be any different. And so fundamentally, there's zero change in our commitment to putting money back to the community. I mean, that's been one thing. Certainly, I've heard time and time again is people just really pleased and impressed with what we've done, and never thought we would bring that type of impact to the community. And I mean this sincerely. I think we're just scratching the surface there. I think we're going to continue to do that, and we're excited about that as we move ahead.
Well, a lot of our local charities have benefited from the Sens Foundation and the generosity of the Belleville Senators fans. It's huge, and what it does to allow them to go forward can't really be understated, or can't be overstated, really. Bottom line is, it's been big. So I guess the last question comes back to people are wondering why I'm not in Laval tonight, why CJBQ is not doing the broadcasts this season. I suppose I could make some comments, but Rob, that's between you and our president, Bill Morton. I don't know if you'd like to comment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I want to say very honestly that there's the fundamental reason comes down to protocols and location. I know there's not a lack of interest or lack of desire. It's fundamental. There's just a lot of challenges with those protocols. And as an example, the way the protocols work, unless you are a full-time staff of a team and you're quote unquote within the bubble, there's restrictions on where you can and can't go within a facility right now. So as of today, no American Hockey League team has a traveling radio broadcaster coming to an away game for that reason. So that's a big challenge to overcome. So I've talked to Bill on a couple of occasions. We're looking at scenarios of how we can get a broadcast out of the Ottawa market if that's where we end up playing, and hopefully we could simulcast that back. That may happen, that may not, but that's something that we're considering. And I know certainly that Bill's been disappointed in the turn of events in terms of what COVID has meant, and I certainly know you are. So from our perspective, we've just had tremendous support from Quinte Broadcasting throughout our tenure, and for me, it's a simple statement: if we could do it, we would, but it's just not a situation that allows it to occur given the environment that we're operating in.
And the fact is, home games will be in Ottawa. They're not going to be in Belleville. So then we come right back to the traveling aspect of it. And you're right. We're all disappointed. And I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm reporting. And we will continue to do that because no matter where the Senators are playing, they are still the Belleville Senators. And I know people tuning in tonight, season ticket holders, feel the same way. Rob, thank you so much for taking time. I know that's explained a lot of what people have on their minds right now. We look forward to the day when we're doing these interviews from the press box at CAA Arena. We hope you're staying safe, and thank you again for doing this tonight.
No, I appreciate that, Jack. And I just would close by saying that I can tell you from top to bottom, from our owner, Mr. Melnick, our president, Anthony LeBlanc, Pierre Dorian, Peter McTavish, myself, head coach Troy Mann, our players, we all want to be in Belleville. It's just the cards that we've been dealt under the pandemic. And we simply cannot wait to get back on the ice at CA Arena in front of our fans. So we look forward to seeing every one of you back there when it's safe to do so. We appreciate your support. Enjoy the game tonight. I know I will, and go Sens go. Hopefully we get the win tonight.
And for those of you looking in, if you thought of a question after the fact, Rob will be more than happy to answer any other questions. Just email him at info@bellevillesens.com, and he will get back to you. I know he will. Thank you all for tuning in. We hope this did answer a lot of your questions tonight. And coming up in another 45 minutes, or make that 25 minutes, Belleville Senators and Laval Rocket again for the fourth time this week. I just one last word. It's March 3rd when they'll actually play a so-called home game.
We haven't seen a finalized schedule yet.
Okay.
So hopefully that will be announced this week. So once we have that confirmed, that will be sent out to our season ticket holders by email. It will be posted on our website. It will be on our social channels. So if you want to find out when we're playing, there's no question you'll know where to look.
And I might even mention it along the way. Our thanks to Brianne Matthews for coordinating all of this. And Rob, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, everybody.